Advantage. Our founding cohort starts Monday, February the 16th, and only a limited number of seats remain. Enroll right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com.
Yeah, this is all good.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Top 1580, download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It is the 16th day of February. We continue to celebrate Black History Month right here on KBLA Talk 1580. On Moving Mountain Mondays, our very special regular contributor is none other than Ernest Krim III, who will be joining us momentarily. But I want to say and share with you some of the things that were happening on this date from 1970. 1870, 72, 57, 51, 1923, and 1854 through 1874. Why don't we start in 1850s? 1856 to 1874 in banking, Frederick Douglass was elected president of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, an institution founded to help formerly enslaved people secure their finances. In 1923, blues legend Bessie Smith recorded her first and highly successful song, Downhearted Blues, for Columbia Records. In 1951, in civil rights, the New York City Council passed a bill prohibiting racial discrimination in city-assisted housing developments. Seems like a law that Trump didn't follow when he was in the real estate business in New York City. Maybe something that he ignored. In 1957, arts and entertainment actor LeVar Burton, known for his roles in Roots and Reading the Rainbow, was born. In 1970, Joe Frazier knocked out Jimmy Ellis to become the world heavyweight boxing champion. And on this date, February 16th, in 1972, Wilt Chamberlain became the first player in NBA history to score 30,000 career points. Our history is so layered every single day. There are hundreds of these happenings, significant events in the history of our people that matter. And it's not just the month of February. Carter G. Woodson believed that Black History Month should be initially a week, and it encompasses both the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. It later became a month, and then it subsequently later became all year long celebrating us. Our very special guest and a regular contributor in this hour is none other than Ernest Krim III. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hey, what's up, brother? It's good to be here with you today.
Man, it's always a pleasure to have you. Ernest is the Emmy-nominated producer, public teacher, anti-racist educator, and hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim, a South Side of Chicago native and University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign graduate, is a former high school history educator of 12 years who now advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to the world through social media with a platform that reaches roughly 4 million people each month as of 2024. If you're listening to us today, you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show from LAX to Orange County to San Bernardino on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, the 110, and the 118. Ernest, welcome forward to the show.
Hey, man, it's good to be here, brother. There's so much going on, but it's always a great way to start my week to be in conversation with you.
Why don't we start with some of what's going on? I saw something really interesting in the news when I woke up this morning about activity in the Iowa legislature where a bill has been introduced to actually allow discrimination. Please share with us your thoughts on that.
You know, I would say my initial response is this is business as usual, and this is a trickle-down effect of what we have seen on a federal level. Of course, it's disheartening, but I also understand that whenever we see something like this, there are many people on the other side of the aisle, and I would often argue more, that detest this. But we also have to keep in mind that oftentimes politically what we have seen, especially recently in contemporary times, is those who detest progress the most and have a vitriol for what we have accomplished as people are often the ones who tend to get involved more in the legislative process to make sure their voices are heard, no matter how nefarious it is. So I think that we have to make sure that when we see what's going on a federal level, although it is, of course, repulsive, we have to also look locally too, because the best way to get involved federally is to get involved locally. We have to check in with our city council, school boards, park district boards, and our state reps and governors too, to make sure that they aren't attempting to pass something similarly like we've seen in the Midwest and Iowa.
I think I'm hearing you say that African Americans who run for office at every level of government, first of all, they should run from school board to dog catcher, all the way up to Congress and even President of the United States, that in some small measure, or maybe it's a large measure, we have to be sentinels on behalf of the race, just kind of keeping an eye out what's coming next, and then have the presence of mind to actually interpret what its consequences and ramifications are, because even acts that seem non-discriminatory can have a deleterious effect.
Yes, indeed. And I think that the way that they do it nowadays is they often code it so that it doesn't seem as if it will be as deleterious, but we know the long-term ramifications of that if we aren't paying attention.
I think that's absolutely right. Ernest, I'm particularly glad and proud that you're on our program today. We've got a lot to talk about on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show, and Ernest is our regular contributor. Ernest, we got a little less than 1 minute, but quick question. Was teaching Black history as a high school teacher difficult or not?
Oh, and right along the same lines of what you said before we come forward with the break, I would say that it was difficult, but I often mastered the art of coding it while teaching U.S. history mainly. And I think that's sometimes what we have to do to get our message across.
I'd like to hear how you did that. More on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Mr. Ernest Krim when we come forward in just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Polly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is Moving Mountain Mondays on the J Lunch Club with Ernest Krim. We are in Mr. Krim's classroom. Ernest, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
Ernest, just before we came forward, you were talking about coding Black history into American history and vice versa for your students, making it interesting, but also attaching it to a larger vision. Share with us how, as a school teacher, you coded Black history.
Yeah, and thank you for this question. I think this is important for everybody to listen to, because how I did this is not something that just has to be contained to the classroom. I got into teaching because I wanted to teach Black history. I chose history as a broad major because in order to teach in this country, you have to have a social science endorsement. And I wanted to also, of course, understand how we connected to various other people as well. But when I started teaching initially, the requirement that we have in our state, and of course, various other states, I'm sure it might be similar in California, is kids have to pass what is called a general United States history course. And we know, based on how curriculums are created, that that is usually a euphemism for teaching history from a Eurocentric standpoint, because they have been viewed as the dominant, preeminent culture. We learn about them, but it's not exactly stated as that. So when I started teaching in my third year in a larger school district, that was the case. Everybody had to learn and take U.S. history. I'm teaching at a school that is predominantly Latino and African-American and low income. For me, what I began to do was I took our curriculum and I looked at every topic that we had to teach about from the American Revolution onward. And I made sure that once I touched on everything that they required those kids to know about, George Washington and so on and so forth, that I introduced them to people that looked like us at the same period of time. And what I gathered from that was I wanted our kids to know that in every period of American history, we were here. In every war we fought in this country, we were involved in too. So again, when people say Black history is American history, and I'll even expand it to say that American history is a part of Black history, because our history is in fact more expansive.
That has never truer words have been spoken than the ones you just spoke, that our history, as Malcolm X said, we did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Plymouth Rock, 1618, 1619, right? Dr. King said we were here before the Declaration of Independence, before Thomas Jefferson etched the magnificent words of the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal. That would be July 4th, 1776. We're commemorating this year the 250th anniversary of that declaration. But we were here, to your point. 1619 comes before July 4th, 1776. And so our history is more expansive. And we can actually see the evolution of the states entering the Union. We can see the evolution of the creation of the political parties. And on both sides of it, there is white reaction to who we are as Black people.
Yeah. And you can't truly gain an understanding of this country's history unless you talk about the people who have dealt with this issue of racism or sexism, the genocide, the classism, the first iteration of authoritarianism we see is how we were treated as people. You can't truly understand this country until you look at it from our vantage point. And of course, the standpoint of the indigenous people of this land as well, because from that you can truly see what it was like. Because I give you a great example. One of my kids competed in a solo performance and band over the weekend, so I got a chance to go to a local school in the Chicago suburbs, which conveniently is majority white, but it's named after like an indigenous name. And while I was walking through the halls, I'm always kind of curious to look at the different things they have on display. And they have this display that was like Prez biography. This is a middle school. So every student had to do some type of project about a biography about the presidents. And of course, me being me, I stopped and I took a look. And I was just wanted to see if I would find any references to what any of these presidents did to our people. Now, of course, I did not. You wouldn't be surprised to know that. But I think that's the issue we deal with today in America. Like the same way they sanitize those presidents' histories now, and the same way they sanitize who they were then is the same way these politicians, the president now, was being sanitized. Because if you could look at a biography of George Washington and it does not mention the people he enslaved, right? If it does not mention how he treated the indigenous people, if it does not mention how he fought tooth and nail to try to get Ona Judge back and get Hercules back, and how when he went to the president's house in Philadelphia, the law was that they had to be freed if they stayed there a certain amount of time. And so he didn't have to follow that law. He would send those enslaved Black people back to Virginia so he could keep them in shackles. If your biography doesn't touch on that, then you're learning a lie, fabrication. But if you learn it from our perspective, because we've seen it all, we as a group of people have had to adapt and still do to every single culture as a necessity so that we can survive, right? We have mastered the art of cultural adaptation or code switching, whatever you want to call it. So if you're learning it from that standpoint, you are learning the same history of what has us in this exact predicament today. That's why we have to make sure we include these stories in every period of American history.
Let me ask you a question without putting you necessarily on the spot. Do you have a favorite president of the United States? Well, how about this? How about a president of the United States you think might have been the cruelest, and there clearly is their bevy of them.
Yeah.
But then is there a favorite president of the United States? And of course, I'm going to exclude Barack Obama.
Of course, yeah. So, I had a student ask me this question when I was teaching AP US history, which I really enjoyed teaching that class because I give College Board credit. As a company, they did include a lot of these stories and narratives in their curriculum. I had a kid ask me that before, and it kind of stumped me because I never really thought of that because I never really had one because I understood what the office has been used for. But if I take a step back and I, keep it at that level and say, look, this country, what the presidents have done, especially, up through Lincoln, has been harmful. Even during the Jim Crow apartheid era, yeah, it's been harmful. But what president, based on how I gauge it, listened the most, was able to evolve the most, was a president who was willing to do what was necessary in a moment of crisis, then I would have to say that it has to be Lincoln for me. I mean, it has to be Lincoln because I truly don't think we're talking about 15 prior presidents. We're talking about almost 100 years after the Declaration. So many people had an opportunity to do something. Now, of course, we're all products of our time, products of our culture. So he was the right person at the right time. But we also understand that if his vice president won, then our story may have been prolonged. We know in Brazil, they didn't end enslavement to nearly 1900. So that's something that could have been possible. So I would have to say Abraham Lincoln. And I say that, of course, understanding that there are a lot of things we could mention and critique. And I think that's a broader conversation that we have to have, that no politician, no person is perfect, but he was the perfect person at that time to help us continue our story.
So if I was a student in the back of Mr. Krim's classroom and I was raising my hand, I'd be like, Mr. Krim, please call on me, Mr. Krim. I got an insight, Mr. Krim. All right, so let me tell you my insight.
Yeah.
If there were no United States of America, every group of African Americans in this country would have a history of a governor, a different governor. And that governor would be the equivalent of kind of the man in the big house, because we would be relying upon that governor in each state to determine how free we are or how free we're not going to be. If there were no federal government, no United States of America, just whoever the governor of Alabama was, he was a good governor, he wasn't a good governor. And, wherever we are, if there were no United States of America, the focus of each African American, one state at a time, each group, each generation, would be their relationship to the governor and what the governor wants to do. The governor. Well, we got us a good governor right here. We got us a governor that does right by us right here. We each have a governor. Now, here's one of the beauties of America, and this is a very challenging country, and you know that I critique America very seriously in my book, A More Perfect Union. So I leave no stones unturned and I have no holes barred. We are blessed to be able to say, against the backdrop of George Washington to Donald Trump, to really be able to say who really is a jerk. I mean, of course, the language that I want to use is not I can't use on KBLA. I mean, I could go through every one of them with their problems, right? And with what they did to us, because our frame of reference isn't every different governor and how this white man treated us in a state. We can look to 47 presidents, a national frame of reference. And whether you're in Mississippi, Alabama, Chicago, California, if you're Southern Cal, Northern Cal, Central Cal, it doesn't matter. As Americans, each president of the United States embodies the collective whole. That is, how we feel about America right now is represented by Donald Trump, not by my governor. It's represented by him. How we felt about the United States of America and her possibilities when Barack Obama was president, we felt like we were going somewhere as a nation, that the nation had made a real pivot in the direction of racial justice. Or we felt some kind of way about seeing Bill Clinton on Arsenio Hall playing his trombone or his saxophone. You know, we felt some kind of way about that. Not like in a negative way, but in a positive way. Like, man, this guy right here identifies with us in our culture. We like got into it with him. So, and then we can tell the clumsy ones, the ones who really aren't comfortable around black folk, who go too far, whose jokes ain't funny, and we're just looking at them like, you ain't been around no black folk. You ain't never been on KBLA. I mean, you ain't never been in no debate, no argument with Tavis, man. You ain't sat down with Brother West. You know, deep kind of thing. We can tell who's been exposed to us and who has not been exposed to us. But to my point, the President of the United States captures a period of American history that is so vast that we can only call it their era. We have a national frame of reference that without the federal government, Dr. Krim, Professor Krim, we simply would not have. Does that make kind of sense from the back of the Ernest Krim classroom?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think you stated that so well, too, because what we have here in America is unlike any other culture. I mean, any other culture or country. To have the pendulum swing that way from an Obama to a Trump says a lot to your point about where we are collectively. And when I think about that, too, it makes more sense contextually when I judge or rate all the other presidents, because it is truly a benefit to have the hindsight, right? And I think that's why we always have to go into conversations like that when we look at a president or politician and say that when we apply present day cultural aspects or norms to the past, we do them a disservice. But we also have to use those as inspiration for what we can do better. But I think that's an accurate dissection of what we're talking about.
And I'm sure, carefully articulated, the history of women reflects the same reality, right? The history of Native Americans, when they look at the panorama, if you will, the landscape of American history, they have a perspective. I'm sure, by definition, the LGBTQIA community has a perspective of what is or ain't a human right, and the difference between being, you know, in the living room and out or in a closet, you know, and how new the idea of being outside of the closet actually is to their community. You know, each of us has a history about the evolution of our emancipation in the system that definitely begins with the emancipation of Black people. So you and I both end up at the same place. Lincoln's different. All 47 of them been talking about liberty. And you've got to ask yourself the question, when they use the term liberty, are y'all talking about white liberty? Because y'all keep taking liberties with us. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580. We're with Ernest Krim when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
BIN News Now. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats want major changes at ICE before supporting funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
We know, and the American people clearly know, that ICE is totally out of control.
He made the comments on CBS's Face the Nation as DHS funding lapsed over the weekend. Republicans say some proposed reforms are non-starters. Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore says he will not run for president in 2028, but he stopped short of ruling out a future bid altogether. Speaking at a CBS Things That Matter town hall, Moore said the next Democratic leader should focus on healing the country and have a proven track record. And former President Barack Obama is clarifying comments about aliens after online buzz. Speaking on a podcast, he said while the universe is vast and life could exist elsewhere, he has not seen an alien and says none are being held at Area 51. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For a lot of folks, the best part of Sunday's NBA All-Star game at the Intuit in Inglewood was that it was competitive and interesting. Fans embraced the new 3-team round-robin format, and the players came to play. Clippers star Kawhi Leonard almost won MVP. He scored 37 points in his 3 games with team stripes, including 31 in the second game. Minnesota Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards got 4 more votes than Leonard to win MVP. Edwards led team stars to the title. The Clippers start the second half of the season Thursday at home against Denver. The Lakers are back in action Friday against the Clippers at Crypto.com. The winning streak is up to 19 for the UCLA women's basketball team. UCLA beat Indiana 92-48 at Pauley Pavilion. 16 points and 14 rebounds for Bruin center Lauren Betts. The Bruins are 25-1, 15-0 in the Big Ten Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the 16th day of February, the shortest month of the year where we commemorate and celebrate Black History Month. We're in Mr. Ernest Krim's classroom. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
So you named the great emancipator as your favorite president against the backdrop of 47 presidents who've served. Who's the worst of the worst?
Who is the worst of the, you know, what's funny about that is we could easily, you know, for how we are as humans, I can, you know, we list a laundry list of all the negative, and sometimes it's hard to find the positive. You know, I try my best not to be so in the moment. It would be easy to say this person, this current president, but we also know that a lot of what a president or politician does doesn't take effect, you know, truthfully, for a couple generations oftentimes. So if I cannot mention what we're dealing with now, I would probably mention Andrew Johnson. I think that you know him,
Andrew Jackson,
Johnson,
right after Lincoln,
yeah, with Jackson too. I mean, again,
absolutely.
We have a top five. Like we can really debate this, right? But I'm going to say Andrew Johnson. For the simple fact, of course, we understand that like during that time period, you didn't pick a running mate. So like he just kind of got the job. And then when Lincoln was assassinated, Lincoln wasn't perfect with what was happening, but it was our best chance. And he proceeded to attempt to undo everything. He truthfully, with all the progress he made from that time and everything we did during the Reconstruction, he made our lives a living hell for as long as he could. I would have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, how I'm feeling now, Andrew Johnson, but the other, of course, Andrew is up there as well. And I think we have to understand, by even studying who the worst presidents are from our perspective, we can get a better idea of what the current president was inspired by. Because just like we have this conversation, there'll be some folks who would put Andrew Jackson up there.
Well, remember now also, if there were no United States, if there were no American experiment, we wouldn't be talking about one worst guy that we all agree on is the worst guy or the best guy. If there were no United States experiment, we'd all be talking about our governor. My governor was good to me right around the 1860s. Your governor was better in the 1970s. We would be about as lost trying to figure out who had the best governor and all of that nonsense. But the idea that we have a frame of reference. Now, I'm going to throw this one in there. I think Woodrow Wilson's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy here, I'm looking at our producer right now, Gina. This guy is the Yale University president. I mean, he was like, right, Birth of the Nation guy, right? I mean, this guy was a scientific racist, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, black folks could not be, he had to have been a eugenicist.
For sure.
You know, I mean, Woodrow Wilson is like the intellectual side of the rawness of racism in the presidency. He's kind of the Stephen Miller of
Can
the
I tell you? Can I tell you this too? Like, so when I started teaching, and when you get to, so we have these mainstream course guidelines and things like that. When you get to what is called the progressive era, that's usually around the 1890s to the 1920s. And we know progressive back then means something different now, but they would often frame him as a progressive president because of course, the 19th Amendment, the woman's right to vote and everything. But that's why it's so important to have our stories in the midst, because like you said, he was a scientific racist. He was a smart dummy, essentially, because we know you can go to some of the best institutions here and use that knowledge nefariously. I'll also throw out there the fact that he screened
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation, which that at the White House, one of the most racist movies ever, regarded as the first blockbuster, led to the rise of the Klan. So our president then, Woodrow Wilson, which he was also around during the race riots and things like that. He basically said, Klan, come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the and for those of you who might not understand the significance of this reference, you know, for many of us, particularly as African Americans, those of us who studied our history, you know, we don't have a Gestapo experience. We don't have a Nazi experience. We have an experience with armed law enforcement officers in the United States, armed judges, armed lawyers, armed mayors, and citizens patrols with masks on their faces, terrorizing our people. So when we make the direct parallel between our reality and what ICE is doing in our streets, we ain't just up talking. We are talking about a throwback to President Woodrow Wilson. Ernest Krim?
You think, when you really think about that too, I understand, you know, we know the Klan has been here. The Klan was here, especially after the Civil War ends. But we also have to keep in mind that, and I was just having this conversation with a friend, and he was just saying, man, it feels like there's so much going on in people's lives right now. And I told him, I said, I think that's always been the case. We always have issues. We're all dealing with personal things. But when you know that the leader, or the person, I would really say, who has the leadership position, because I don't think they were a leader, but they have the leadership position. When you know that's very unstable and you see what they're involved in, it exacerbates what you're dealing with, because you don't feel like you might have a system or something to fall back on and support. And I say that because we know that this anti-blackness, this racism has always been simmering in America. And we know it became less politically correct to espouse how you felt after King's assassination. But all it takes is someone who confidently, you know, touts that rhetoric to encourage it to come, to be resurrected. That's what Woodrow Wilson did to screen that movie. I don't know if people realize how racist that movie was. That movie helped peddle and proliferate many of the anti-black stereotypes that have become mainstream today. They had blackface. The movie was about the Klan essentially rescuing white folks, white women from black people, and they were in blackface. And they show these stereotypes of us eating the chicken and the watermelon and showing us being hunted and lynched as if it was something to be proud of. And what do you see? These large Klan rallies, these Klan marches in the southwestern suburbs where I'm living now. One of the largest Klan rallies up to date in 22 or so happened in Plainfield, Illinois, on the back of this. So the president and what they talk about really has positive and negative ramifications.
I haven't gotten past the chicken and the Augusta jaw, the chicken and the watermelon. That's on my mind now because we have some great weather in Chicago, but it's so much a part of who we were and who we are. And it's such a stereotypical caricature of black people that, you know what? Hey, check this out. You know, this is also part of black history. Did you know that Bugs Bunny was a racist? And Elmer Fudd was a Confederate soldier. He was a racist.
Yep.
And I mean, in the mid 60s, the early 60s, Elmer Fudd, he was a Southern guy with a shotgun talking about, come here, you rabbit, come here to the rabbit, hunting rabbits down in Mississippi. And Bugs Bunny, some of them were they had very large lips. I mean, it was about hunting. It was about hunting Negroes, man.
Yeah. And
Disney, therefore, was that's not Disney. I'm sorry, that Warner Brothers. I thought it was Disney. Warner Brothers.
Disney too, though.
My sincerest apologies to the Disney Corporation. But Warner Brothers. That's all, folks. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Mr. Ernest Krim.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu, the daytime coughing, aching fever under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
LADWP urges everyone to always keep safety top of mind. If you see a downed wire, don't touch it. Stay far away and call 911 immediately. Downed wires can be deadly. Whether you're at home, work, or on the road,
always assume the wire is live. Together, we can keep Los Angeles safe and powered. Learn more at ladwp.com/electric safety.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are in Mr. Krim's classroom. Mr. Krim has more than 4 million followers on various social media platforms, but most importantly, he was a teacher of African American history during a 12-year stint or period in our public school systems. And he came up with an idea and ways of coding Black history into American history, and even arguing that there is no American history without Black history. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks again for having me.
Ernest, okay. So I was talking with the producer during the break, and Gina said, listen, so we know what the presidents are who did things, like wrong. But is there someone in your thinking that did things right? I mean, other than Lincoln? And then, yes. We're going to come to the issue of Wes Moore in just a moment. But
yeah,
President,
I have a top three. Again, notwithstanding like the current time frame that we live through, I would say that my top three, of course, so we already mentioned Lincoln. FDR would be in there, but I would probably say, honestly, my 1A to Lincoln would have to be LBJ.
I think that's right.
Because of what he did. I mean, if you want to know the measure of a president and just how great they were for us, then you would just have to look at what this current president, who the current president is attacking the most. Now, he doesn't explicitly say LBJ, right? And we know that LBJ might not have ever been a president if not for what happened to JFK and what he set forth contextually. But a lot of what is being undone was passed and signed into law because of him. And I never like to omit all the congressmen and women back then who were helping us out as well, but he made the decision to do it. And, it's a partnership. King was right there. King forced that hand, but he did it. Like the Great Society, we talk about the Department of Education, like all of these different things that came into place. He re-emphasized what needed to be heightened after FDR, right? After the New Deal. So I think those three presidents worked so well together because they were here at a time when we needed someone like that the most. How about you?
I'm right there with you. I think FDR, LBJ. I like Carter's decency, right? I like Clinton's suave, right? And I definitely like Barack Obama. I mean, I'm not going to leave him out of there. Our producer's trying to say something. What are you saying over there?
James A. Garfield.
James A. Garfield. James Garfield. How'd you go back and find that guy? We'll come back.
Talking about the lasagna guy, the cat, or are you talking?
You said no, President Garfield. Hey, check this out. Let me pivot for a moment, though, to what the Democrats did do right recently, and that includes coming together behind something that has happened to Governor Wes Moore. We have about 6 or 7 minutes towards the end of our show. Your thoughts about the governor of Maryland?
Oh, I'm proud that they're standing with him. I think do people realize just how rare it is to even have a Wes Moore? We have, off the top of my head, the number is escaping me, but we have not had very many Black governors, right, in this country, period. Think about the fact that we've had a Black president before many of our states. Illinois, you know what I'm saying? California, like I live in a town myself. We never had a Black mayor. So like things like this mean a lot, and not just the title, but also too what he stands on. I think it's very important. It's not just because he could have just as easily be on the other side, right? He's the right representation. He stands boldly. He's supporting his constituents. He is someone who's even said we need to move forward with a plan of repairing what has happened to Black folks, not just by studying it, by doing something, taking action now. So when you see something blatant like this happen to him, I honestly didn't think or I didn't put the pressure on the other Democratic governors to do so because I've just been let down so much. But this is the right thing to do. This is the appropriate thing, the bare minimum.
You know, I'm impressed with Wes Moore. When he first came on the scene, I thought he would be a little more Obama-esque, and I'm not suggesting that he's not. But there's a brother part of Wes Moore that's the real deal. I mean, there's some issues, for example, in my opinion, that Barack Obama would not have taken on, that Wes Moore takes on.
Yeah.
And so he ain't hiding, he ain't shucking and jiving. Wes Moore is the real deal. And he is someone that should be celebrated in Black history. The first African-American governor of the state of Maryland. Ernest, we have about 3.5 minutes before we come forward. Very interested in your word of hope.
Yeah, I would say, for one, thank you for including me once again on such a lively conversation and much needed conversation. I think that the thing we have to consider during this time is what real leadership looks like on all levels. I have a K-5 class I'll be teaching tonight, and that's one of the topics I'll be talking about with my kids online is what real leadership looks like. It's more than just having the position. It's more than just having the title. It's who you are as a person. And just like you said, like with Jimmy Carter and what our producer said with President Garfield, like you have to have a strong moral center to actually be a great leader. And a great leader makes the position. A position doesn't make a great leader. So we have to evaluate that on all levels of government, y'all. We have to be aware of these elections coming up, whether it be citywide, whether it be, of course, county, township, of course, statewide, congressional, midterms, all of that. We have to be aware and not just wait for when they tell us it's time to be aware and alert, because we need at this time great people to be in leadership positions, but we also need to make sure we're supporting them when they get there. And we need to begin recruiting young folks who we see possess that, right? The last thing I will say as a moment of hope is, remember, this is President's Day. And I don't say that because we want to profile someone like a George Washington, who, of course, it was for him initially. But I say this because we had somebody like a Barack Obama who fought through and got grassroots support to be in his position. But also, too, the people who resisted when George Washington was a president. That is very important for us to acknowledge, because we understand that he was enslaving people while also being over a country that was professing to be about equality for all, right? I want us in this moment to take a deep dive and look into what people like Ona Judge did by refusing to be given as a birthday gift, by running away from the president's house, by going to New Hampshire and living the rest of her life free. She was able to escape. And not only that, the president, George Washington, tried everything he could to bring her back to so-called justice as a so-called fugitive, but she was never apprehended. We have to think about what that means for us today. The same thing for his chef who was enslaved, Hercules, who escaped, ran away, never to be heard from again. What does that look like for us in this present day, y'all? We have everything within us spiritually and on our recent ancestry to achieve these things, but we have to be very clear. The things they did back then are important today, but they are not the exact same thing. So support our leaders, recruit our leaders, and think about what that escape plan looks like, y'all.
Ernest, you're one of our leaders, brother. We're so grateful that you spend this time with us weekly on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show in Ernest Crim's Classroom.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here every week with you, man.
Man, looking forward to it next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Ernest Crim's Classroom. Ernest is an Emmy-nominated producer, author, historian, writer, and scholar who teaches African-American history through a culturally equitable lens. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Reverend Terry Hord Owens and the Moving Mountain Monday, The Faith Not the Fall. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats want major changes at ICE before supporting funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
We know, and the American people clearly know, that ICE is totally out of control.
He made the comments on CBS's Face the Nation as DHS funding lapsed over the weekend. Republicans say some proposed reforms are non-starters. Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore says he will not run for president in 2028, but he stopped short of ruling out a future bid altogether. Speaking at a CBS Things That Matter town hall, Moore said the next Democratic leader should focus on healing the country and have a proven track record. And former President Barack Obama is clarifying comments about aliens after online buzz. Speaking on a podcast, he said while the universe is vast and life could exist elsewhere, he has not seen an alien and says none are being held at Area 51. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
One of the best visuals from NBA All-Star Weekend happened during the All-Star Game Sunday at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama attended the game and had courtside seats. When they walked into the arena, both were treated to a rousing ovation from fans. During the game, a loose ball was heading toward Michelle, but the former president caught the ball before it made contact with her. The quick reaction from Obama generated another round of applause from fans. During a break in the game Sunday, the former president did an on-court interview with Hall of Famer Reggie Miller, who was working the game as an analyst for NBC. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's top 25 rankings: UConn, 25-1 UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, and Vanderbilt. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Check it out. After nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, poets, and cultural icons, I have learned that the difference between a good conversation and an unforgettable one is not what you say, it is how you listen. Most people listen to respond. I learned to listen to learn and follow. When you master this, something remarkable happens. People just open up. They leave the conversation feeling truly heard, and they never forget you. Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and for the first time in my life, I'm teaching everything I have learned. The Art of Conversation, a 4-week masterclass for podcasters, leaders, and professionals who understand that the ability to connect is their greatest competitive advantage. Our founding cohort starts Monday, February the 16th, and only a limited number of seats remain. Enroll right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com.
Yeah, this is all good.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Ford Owens, who is the General Minister and President of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, an author and advocate for the church living out its calling. She is the first person and second woman to lead the denomination since her election in 2017. Reverend Howard Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. In keeping with the disciples' historic commitment to Christian unity, she serves in leadership at the National Council of Churches as the treasurer of the governing board and a member of the World Council of Churches Central Committee. Reverend Terry Howard Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good afternoon, my brother. Good to be with you today.
Madam President, today we're on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, the 110, the 118. We are from LAX to Orange County and San Bernardino. We are all up and down Los Angeles on President's Day. Madam President, do you have a favorite president?
You know, I heard you and Ernest talking about Lincoln, and I have to say probably he is one of them. Also, FDR, LBJ, and again, I want to stress, and even Carter. I had a chance to meet Carter when I was a freshman in college, and never forgot that particular experience. I think Lincoln, FDR, and LBJ we can lift up because of what they did. Their own rhetoric sometimes sort of belied what they claimed to believe. Lincoln once said he would have, if he could have won the war any other way without freeing the slaves, he would have done so. FDR might not have been moved to the greatness that he was moved to, at least on the race issue, and maybe even on other things without his wife, Eleanor, who was really, I think, his moral center. She was the one who was really connected to the people and out there really seeing what was going on. LBJ, again, lots in his past where one could say, from my perspective, that he did not necessarily have a moral center. He was kind of a sloppy and sort of uncouth personality. But he
kind of a John Wayne figure in the White House, right?
Yeah, sort of a John Wayne figure. I mean, he was, people cuss. I'm not such a Puritan that I'm going to cut you down because of your language, but just other parts of his personality that were a little raw. But he did the right thing. He did the right thing, and I think claimed that Great Society agenda as politically to say let's live into what President Kennedy wanted to do. Although a lot of that was not anything that was on President Kennedy's agenda. So you got to give LBJ credit. Jimmy Carter just practiced what he preached, lived it, was truly a kind, a generous human being, and just he was almost too unsavvy to be in that office. He just didn't have any of those political wiles. He really was. When you saw it, the outpouring of people just sharing love on him because he never moved away from what he said he believed, and even grew. I mean, I gave him props because he left Southern Baptist Convention because they would not ordain women, and he left that denomination. I was very proud of him for doing that.
Madam President, I'm thinking that Jimmy Carter definitely had moral conscience, even if he didn't have the economic vision,
right,
close some of the gaps necessary, particularly at the height of his popularity, and of course his perceived handling of the government, the Iran-Contra crisis, created a one-term presidency for President Carter. He was definitely, from my perspective, the most decent president. Now, this is going to be a little bit unfair, even though there's no competition here on our show. I did exclude Barack Obama. Let me ask this question, though. LBJ clearly, personally, had to overcome so many demons in order to support and ultimately do what he did based upon his own segregationist background and rearing.
Right.
I don't believe, and maybe there are, as many significant civil rights improvements, and maybe I'm missing something here. Of course, I believe the Affordable Care Act is a civil right, and there are certain civil rights that the LGBTQ community got under Barack Obama. And then there are other rights that we were able to sustain and work through the 8 years of Barack Obama. So he may have a similar legacy, not quite like the Civil Rights Act. But I don't know if personally Barack Obama had to overcome personally what LBJ had to overcome to be who he became. Barack Obama is. He just there, but there was no growth curve. if you will.
Oh, I would have to agree with you. And sort of the people would say you leave with the people who brought you. LBJ left the people who brought him.
Yes,
he left those Southern Democrats. And he grew to have great power and influence in the Senate before he became vice president on that Southern, racist segregationist agenda. And he suffered a lot there. He probably was done in because he wasn't quite able to turn the same corner with Vietnam. But I'd have to agree with you. He had to go really against the real core of who he was and really his own folks, so to speak, in order to really stand for those important civil rights issues, which had real impact because they were the legal, it was legal apartheid that was being destroyed in many ways.
We are with Reverend Teresa Hoard Owens, the General Minister and President of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States. She's earned a Master's of Divinity degree at the University of Chicago Divinity School, where she was a Disciples Divinity House Scholar and recipient of the John Gray Rind Award, given to the top MDiv students at the Divinity School. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Reverend Teresa Hoard Owens when we come forward.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're listening to The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Teresa Hord Owens on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Terry Hord Owens is the General Minister and President of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and in Canada. She earned her Master's of Divinity degree at the University of Chicago Divinity School, where she was a Disciples Divinity Scholar and recipient of the John Gray Rind Award, given to the top MDiv graduate at the Divinity School. Reverend, Madam President, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's always good to be here. Always good conversation.
Madam President, I was sharing with Brother Krim in the first hour that, but for the idea of the United States, of course, we are commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. In a few short years thereafter would come the Constitution. But for the idea, each of us as African Americans in our struggle for freedom would be looking at life from the perspective of a liberating governor.
Mm.
With some states probably still allowing the peculiar institution because the nature of governors can be stubborn when the labor rights for their interests are free. The idea that we have a president of the United States, a national union, we can reflect from George Washington to Donald Trump on what our people are going through at every phase of the development of the whole system, in ways that if we were not a United States of America, we'd be looking at what's taking place to our people in a separate and unequal state-based system, county-based system, and city-based system, hence leaving us essentially with no way out of the condition or the predicament that we are in. Somehow, Madam President, our destiny is actually tied to the idea of the federal government and this country building a more perfect union.
I think you're right. I agree totally. And that's why what's happening today with the current federal government leadership is so dangerous and really frightening in many ways. We have always looked to the federal expression of the government to reinforce certain key values that we say we hold to, even when they have been, vilified, or certainly, many states, spat in the face of those things before. It was the federal government, it was the Constitution, it was the federal courts that we could lean on. And now we have a federal government that clearly does not hold fast to those things that most of us have grown up believing that this country stood for, the very processes that we all hold fast to. And so when we're left at this point with almost claiming states' rights, right? Which is sort of ironic, in order to fight against the injustices being heaped on us by that federal government. It's just a sadly ironic moment in time, a very dangerous one, because it means the center is not holding. We've always believed there was a center somehow that would hold, and the center is not holding right now.
It was really interesting. The National Action Network, the organization founded by Reverend Al Sharpton, I had the privilege of attending his last conference. And at that conference, I met 5 different attorney generals who were African-American, obviously Letitia James. One was Asian, I believe one was Jewish, one was a white fella, and there was another. And they were using, ironically, the states' rights argument to stop the federal government from encroaching upon the individual liberties of their citizens by turning it on its head. Because this is precisely what states used to tell the federal government before the Civil War. Stay out of here, because you're not going to tell us what to do with our Negroes in this state. Y'all don't belong down here because of the 10th Amendment. Then we turn around and use the 10th Amendment to say, now, federal government, you don't belong in here telling us what to do with our immigrants and our LGBTQ and our Negroes.
And our voting and our voting.
Our health care. You don't get to come in here and tell us what you ain't going to do or what you going to make us do.
And there is, it's authoritarian, it's fascist, it's all the things above, to take this very distorted view of what America is supposed to be and try to impose it. The center holds because we all agree that the center has value. And we went through a long, hard fight with the civil rights movement to affirm the center in the matter of civil rights. And just as we have kind of, I won't say gotten past that, but at least it was at one point in time sort of impolitic or impolite to talk the way people are talking now. I mean, the recent legislation that they were trying to pull over in Iowa to actually make it legal for certain kinds of discrimination. It's the Religious Freedom Act that they tried to pass in 2016, 2017 in states like Indiana to give people the right to discriminate or choose not to offer services based on some claim to some religious practice. We're on a pretty slippery slope, because now we're looking for an out. The common societal, the social contract that we've had for generations, we're now looking for outs with that. At least the right is clearly, the president is not even paying attention to any social contracts other than the ones that perhaps help him earn money with Bitcoin. But this is such a dangerous time.
I agree. And I think it's also, and we often talk about the dangerous time that it is for Black people. But Madam President, given that you are a historic figure at your church and in history of American Christendom, this is a tough time for women at every phase. If the brothers are catching it, give us some insight on what's happening with the sisters.
It's still a difficult journey for women who are, my own field in ministry, but even before that, in the corporate world, you're also seeing women still finding it hard to have their leadership respected. There are all sorts of books and workshops that are being done from Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In, trying to lift up. There's a particular, I think, approach that many women do take to leadership that is different than the model that was lifted up before us. But it is, I just came from our Disciples of Christ Puerto Rico assembly. There are over 100 churches that are connected to us in Puerto Rico. They have their first female general pastor there. And she asks me all the time, she says, do they talk to you like you don't know anything and that you don't know how to do it? I was like, absolutely. and to suggest that you have an idea, there is still a culture in many organizations that if you're a woman, you haven't been here before. So we've got to help you almost in sort of a remedial way, and pats on the head and say, well, just follow along and do it our way, and you'll be okay. And many of us, I certainly am not built that way, and certainly reject that kind of thing. But I was in information technology and had senior positions, and my whole career, I was one of few women, certainly one of few Blacks in those roles, and even in the church, female leadership in some denominations we're at least accepted and can be ordained, but it's still a hard road to hoe for women. Michelle Obama was very blunt. People asking her if she wanted to run for president. She said, let's be serious. You all aren't ready for a female president. You're not ready for that. America's just not ready. When we see what has happened to other women who have run, Michelle was very clear. The country is really not ready for a woman in that lead role. So what does that say about us if that's the case?
Yeah, it sounds like we're in the 18th century, maybe the 19th century, but certainly not the 20th or the 21st century. But the fascinating thing about America is it's becoming something. I mean, it's towards something. We are,
And that,
I'd like to think that what we're experiencing right now is a bump in the road. I'm sorry, Madam President.
oh no, I was just going to say, I spoke a few weeks ago about my time that I spent with Howard Thurman on my sabbatical and his sermon, The Growing Edge. And that's, he talks about the challenge of constantly realizing that you haven't arrived. Sort of the more you do, once you think you have arrived or grown into something, the moment that you think you have arrived or that your growth is complete, that's sort of the beginning of the end. You always have to look forward to say there's still something more to be, there's some more to do. So there's a little growing edge that has to happen. And even when you're at the edge of despair, the fact that there can be and should be more to come is really the place where hope lies, even in the worst of times.
It is the place where hope lies. That doesn't get much according to that.
Yeah, I think, and if hope isn't there, where is it, right? It's if we don't have hope in times when it seems that things are really at their worst or that things are not possible, that's when the extra oomph that we take, the extra prayer, the one last gasp, and he talks about there being the feeling that there's no more breath in your exhausted lung. I think that's so visceral to me. Just when you think that there's just no more to do, that hope is in that place to know that if we can just keep believing that there is more, and that we ourselves will never be all that there should be, and we will never accomplish all that there is to accomplish. There will still be more for generations following to do. Hopefully it gets better and better.
We have about 3 minutes before we come forward. Your thoughts, and I know we'll talk about more of other subject matters on the other side of the break. Your thoughts on the state of Iowa and legislation that's being offered to legitimize or legalize discrimination. I mean, who offers this in the 21st century?
It's brazen. It's a brazen expression of privilege, white privilege, male privilege. The idea that one would say, I or we have the right or the authority to place anybody else who is not like us in an inferior position. That's just morally bankrupt. There's no faith system that would affirm that kind of legislation. And I would have thought that we'd gotten to the place in the United States of America that would be anathema to at least who we say we are. Maybe that's the problem. We've forgotten who we say we are. And we're leaning back in to that privilege and that brazen sense of all us and no more, us for no more.
Madam President, I know there's about 2 minutes before we come forward, but let me just say this quickly. The Declaration of Independence, it begins with all of these wonderful words etched with the pen of Thomas Jefferson. I'm wondering but that's not all that's in the Declaration of Independence. There's a long train of abuses.
Right. Grievances. Yeah, I guess the
grievances. If the Declaration of Independence were written today, would the abuses be as long or would they be longer?
Oh, I think they would be longer. I think they would be longer. There is a declaration that I'm part of a group called the Faith Table that's got a letter out. We'll be in DC doing imposition of ashes on Wednesday and a national webinar on Wednesday night. And our declaration, I'll share the link with the producer, really does list a long list of grievances about what's happening with this administration.
Right. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest is none other than the General Minister and President of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, both in the United States and Canada. How's that for you? She's the head of a multi-nation denomination. And that's not just, I'm a Southern Baptist, I'm a Northern Baptist, I'm a Progressive Baptist. I said she's all over the world. More with Reverend Terry Hord Owens on the Faith Not the Fall when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats want major changes at ICE before supporting funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
We know, and the American people clearly know, that ICE is totally out of control.
He made the comments on CBS's Face the Nation as DHS funding lapsed over the weekend. Republicans say some proposed reforms are non-starters. Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore says he will not run for president in 2028, but he stopped short of ruling out a future bid altogether. Speaking at a CBS Things That Matter town hall, Moore said the next Democratic leader should focus on healing the country and have a proven track record. And former President Barack Obama is clarifying comments about aliens after online buzz. Speaking on a podcast, he said while the universe is vast and life could exist elsewhere, he has not seen an alien and says none are being held at Area 51. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
One of the best visuals from NBA All-Star Weekend happened during the All-Star Game Sunday at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama attended the game and had courtside seats. When they walked into the arena, both were treated to a rousing ovation from fans. During the game, a loose ball was heading toward Michelle, but the former president caught the ball before it made contact with her. The quick reaction from Obama generated another round of applause from fans. During a break in the game Sunday, the former president did an on-court interview with Hall of Famer Reggie Miller, who was working the game as an analyst for NBC. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's top 25 rankings: UConn, 25-1 UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, and Vanderbilt. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special contributor on these Moving Mountain Mondays is none other than Reverend Teresa Horde Owens, the Faith Not to Fall. She is the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, my brother. Good to be with you.
Madam President, I want to explore in your thinking the idea of liberation theology and Black women and the role that they've played. The Underground Railroad was tough, right? But I see the patriarchy in the Black church, while it allowed us to communicate through scripture, through song, about freedom. The actions taken by the women in my read in Black history is far more revolutionary and radical than, the passivity of the pastors that comforted us in the state that we found ourselves. I mean, these sisters had my read on history. I mean, they grew tired of that. They grew tired of the plantation itself, both physically, socially, culturally, spiritually. They were done.
Yeah. And there are lots of ways to demonstrate that resistance, right? So resistance happened in a lot of ways, from Harriet Tubman, who famously, ran away, came back to get her family members one by one, and even she made one trip back to get her husband, and he had decided he didn't want to take the risk and wouldn't go, and she left him, and her. It's like you either move forward with me or I'll shoot you dead was her command. But the resistance just of everyday Black women on the plantation, whether they worked in the field or whether they were in the house, whether they were being raped by the slave owner, watching their children be sold away, the resistance to still instill within their children a sense of themselves and a sense of who they were. The ability to even love their mates despite not being able to legally enjoy the rights of legal marriage. I had a friend once who said, "What's all this talk about the family in the Black church? Why are you guys always talking about lifting up Black men?" And I'm as strong a Black woman as the next, but I also know what this society has done to Black men's ability to both just be themselves, let alone participate in the patriarchy, but just to be themselves. But Liberation theology initially had a critique that it wasn't paying attention to Black women. And from that, we get womanist theology, which which differentiates itself right from feminist theology. Black women said, we're not bashing men. What we're doing is that we're lifting up everybody, because our liberation cannot be achieved unless we're all free. So Black womanist theology lifts up Black men in particular and says we will not seize our liberation at the expense of our brothers and our fathers and our sons. And I think that's an important liberation theology had to grow. James Cone was not necessarily on that track, or if so, he had not articulated that initially at first.
I knew some amazing, one of the great blessings of being my father's child and my mother's son is the exposure that we've had to some of the most amazing people on earth. I knew Shirley Chisholm at age of 7. And I knew and met Rosa Parks when she was first working for John Conyers in Detroit. She subsequently moved to Washington, D.C. and literally lived across the street from me on O Street in what today is known as the Rosa Parks house. And of course, I was at her funeral. And we used to have lunch, if you will, or brunch right across the street at the mansion on O Street. And when I saw a Facebook post earlier today that said, hey, there was a major African woman who was part of the civil rights movement, but she has been, kind of written out of the male narrative. And I said to myself, well, who is that? And then pops up Dorothy Height. And I had the great privilege of going to Egypt with Dorothy Height, the National Council of Negro Women. And we found ourselves dancing together under the pyramids. It's the most memorable time I've ever had in my life. And so I then had to reflect upon the role that she did play. I think what the Big Six, the Big 12, or whatever it's called, she was one of them.
Yeah.
And yet there is very little mention of the role and contribution that she actually made, Madam President.
Dorothy Height and Mary McLeod Bethune probably gets a little more attention than say Dorothy Height, but Black women, even in the fight for the women's vote, were being cast aside by the white women's suffrage organizations. Ida B. Wells and other people who literally put their lives on the line, both to speak truth and to move certain kinds of agendas forward. There are so many, even Rosa Parks. I think we think of her. I wish I had had the opportunity to meet her and know her, but in the few times when you've seen her interviewed, she was quiet and humble, but certainly not a weak personality at all. And she had been involved. She wasn't so much physically tired, she said, as she was just tired of dealing with the injustice, right? Was a leader in the civil rights movement with the local NAACP long before it was decided that her case became the test case. But it took a lot of courage and resolve for her to say, no, I'm not getting up. I'm tired of this. And she understood what was at stake. But I think there's so many Black women. I think of my own mother, who heart of gold, but she was truly sort of an iron fist in a velvet glove. And I think there are a lot of Black women who have had to be that way, had to be strong for their families, and yet had to, in many generations, not violate societal expectations, right? Of quote unquote, what being a lady was. My dad was like, you got to be a strong Black woman. And my mom was like, and you still got to be a lady. So there's still our mothers and aunties and grandmothers gave us strength, but Black women even had to fight to be allowed to be feminine, because the society often demeaned our looks, demeaned our ability to be attractive, decried us as, Jezebel types, over-sexualized us, all those things. So we were fighting for liberation on a lot of fronts.
There's no doubt about it. And I think that our women inspired white women and white feminism, not the other way around.
Yes.
Once we had attached ourselves to the idea that we could achieve a 15th Amendment to the Constitution, there was a division in the suffrage between Black women who were suddenly without the franchise, and the division that occurred over the 15th Amendment, which included Negro men and excluded Black women, where they joined with the suffragettes to advance the idea of the 19th Amendment. And so, the silent force behind the franchise is actually Black women. I'm more convinced of that. I'm more convinced of that.
And the organizational power, the organizing power, the brilliance. I mean, Ida B. Wells, case in point, was a huge mover and shaker in those movements, and really fought against being shut out until she finally sort of threw up her hands and went and did other things. But a lot of Black women are unknown heroes in that movement, and still today, Black women. Montgomery boycott would never have happened without Black women organizing behind the scenes. Who do you think organized those carpools and printed those flyers and did the communication? It was Black women.
And the mothers of the church. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're having a very special conversation with the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass, and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail, and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is our final of Moving Mountain Monday and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege to ask the audience to continue to pray for my father. And I am not at liberty to go beyond that, but we do need your prayers incessantly. And so grateful that just no one has prayed more for my dad during this period and with me than Reverend Terry Hord Owens, the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Reverend Owens, please keep Dad lifted in your prayers.
Absolutely. Every single day.
Just want to go through a little bit of February 16th in history and then allow the president, Madam President, to respond. In 1972, Wilt Chamberlain became the first basketball player in NBA history to score 30,000 career points. In 1970, Joe Frazier knocked out Jimmy Ellis to become the world heavyweight boxing champion. In 1957, actor LeVar Burton, known for his roles in Roots and Reading the Rainbow, was born. In 1951, in civil rights, the New York City Council passed a bill prohibiting racial discrimination in city-assisted housing developments. In 1923, on this date, February 16th, blues legend Bessie Smith recorded her first and successful song, Downhearted Blues, for Columbia Records. And in 1856 and 1874, two milestones in banking. Frederick Douglass was elected president of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, an institution founded to help formerly enslaved people secure their finances. Now, this is, Madam President, 1856 and 1874. Frederick Douglass, an institution founded to help formerly enslaved persons secure their finances. Madam President, we're still trying to secure our finances.
Yes, we are. And we've had other, as you know, Black banking institutions, certainly here in the city of Chicago and around the country and other entrepreneurial spirits. But there is, I talk about this with people all the time, the generational trauma, right? That the failure to have any kind of reparations after slavery continues to have a shadow on our people, and the very idea that there are kids in Chicago that only know what they see in the few blocks that surround their houses. It's not because they're not bright kids. It's not because they don't want more. It's just because economic discrimination keeps them from understanding what their options are. When your schools are based on the property taxes in your area, and economic discrimination means that you live in a neighborhood where your house isn't worth as much, and your schools don't. To me, that's just such a complete violation of the very notion that we're all created equal. Kids don't get to see the same. They don't get to understand. They don't get to know themselves. And in a crazy world like we live in, they see things that are on TV. And if there are organizations beyond families and schools where they can find greater belonging, they're going to do that. We've done our kids a great disservice as a society, because when you don't understand or know options, it's hard for you to dream when you can't see beyond where you are. And that could happen to any one of us based on the circumstances in which we were born and in which we live. And I just, my heart breaks because we're the children of the movement, right? Our parents were the ones fighting the battles in the movement, and now I'm a grandmother now, and my grandson stands to lose some of the gains that my grandparents fought for me. So I'm in the position of wanting to ensure that my grandson doesn't have to fight those same battles, over and over again. But it's it's a lot. It's a difficult scenario to imagine, and the gaps between rich and poor in this country are getting bigger and wider. And so people who are already at a disadvantage are being, that's being multiplied by exponential factors, particularly within the Black and brown communities.
Madam President, we only have a few minutes left in our program. Your word of hope is so meaningful to us. Our hopes are dashed every single day. And yet there's a resilience factor and a persistence factor that keeps our heads high. I think in this moment about Governor Wes Moore holding his head up in spite of it all. Madam President, your thoughts on Wes Moore and your final word of hope.
I love Wes Moore. I hope to meet him one day. And here's what he has said that I think offers us a tremendous insight into who he is and offers us some hope for where we can stand. He says, I will work with anyone, but I will bow to no one. And I think as we think about Black history, that's been the resilience of our people, right? It's been the resilience of women. We have been willing to be good Christian people to work with anyone, to do the right thing, but we have refused to bow. We have refused to let anybody deny our humanity, to deny our dignity and our respect. And that's something that I think holds great hope for us, because the moment that we allow ourselves to allow anyone to diminish our humanity, then we have no real hope of being resilient or of overcoming someday. The inherent dignity of who God has made us all is at the heart of resilience. And if you can hold on to that, you can say, as Wes Moore says, I will work with anyone, but I will bow to no one.
I am particularly proud of that young man. I had no idea that he had the strength and the fortitude within his own character as a serviceman to actually strike the balance between, at least from my perspective, the revolutionary patriotism that Martin Luther King Jr. believed in, as well as the kind of moral character to hold true to the story of who we are, lest our feet stray from the place of our God where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. And so I think it's written on his heart. Madam President, a few words of hope for the end of our show.
I've been really living again, as I said, with Howard Thurman and where hope lies, and the role of each generation to make the world better than it was when you found it, and what are we handing off? And I think we, in these particular days, I'm a woman of faith. I'm a Christian. There are people who practice other faiths. My hope really is in, as we enter into this Lenten season, Ash Wednesday is Wednesday. There's a sense of humility, but also a sense of great pride and courage that says, because of God's limitless love, we are able to not only stand on our own humanity, but we have the strength to fight for the humanity of others and to ensure that we live in a society that recognizes that humanity for all peoples, all generations, no matter who we are, where we live, or what we believe.
Madam President, where can we buy your book?
It is now on Amazon. Yay. So Amazon.com and also BarnesandNoble.com. Be excited for people to read it and let me know what you think of it.
Discover a new vision for a church grounded in love, unity, prophetic imagination that welcomes everyone to the table. This book will inspire you to become a catalyst for change and build a church that lives up to its calling. In a world of increasing polarization, the church is called to be a beacon of hope and unity. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., the The title of the book is Staying at the Table by Teresa Hord Owens. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.